Welcome to the channel. I trust that you're doing well, and happy Thanksgiving to all my fine American friends out there. In this video, we're going to take a look at the price action of Bitcoin since its recent pullback, and we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance as well. Is there some interesting things starting to show up in that chart that could be indicating that maybe some alt season action could be around the corner? We'll also take a look at the sentiment of the market. We'll look at the retail interest as far as search terms are concerned, and I'll do a follow-up analysis on Ethereum as some bullish conditions were met. And Ethereum too could be looking for some upside sometime in the near future. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. Don't forget to leave me a like, hit subscribe, and if you do that, make sure to tick the bell down below so you're notified when I put out future videos. Let's get into the video. And starting on this fun chart right here. And what this chart is showing us is the price point of Bitcoin on every Thanksgiving in the United States since its genesis. And what we can see is that this most recent Thanksgiving, that Bitcoin has set a record above 90,000 on Thanksgiving Day. Another interesting thing about this chart is that anybody who bought Bitcoin on Thanksgiving Day up until now and hodled it is in profit. So congratulations to anybody that's been accumulating Bitcoin on Thanksgiving Day. And jumping over to the price action chart for Bitcoin inside TradingView, and we are looking at a daily time frame. Now we can see that so far Bitcoin has found a little bit of support off this price structure right here. We can see that by this wick coming down, pretty much tagging that area, and then we got this nice celery stick to the upside, closing a daily back up above the red 10 simple moving average. And at the time of making this video, we can see that price action just kind of hanging around that point. Now, if we come down here to the RSI, we do see that it's trying to get outside the bullish control zone with a negative sloped EMA right here, but not a big deal. There's a few things I'm going to point out about this. This right here was the bearish divergence we were looking at a couple videos ago, and I was saying, you know what, maybe that's a bit of a warning sign that we're going to get a short-term pullback, and maybe that pullback even leads to a greater correction. But so far, that is not what we're seeing. So far, this is just a very short-term pullback as Bitcoin hasn't broke any structure just yet. Now, what we can see here is we can see that the RSI has been putting in higher lows along the way. And right now we can see that the RSI is kind of in that higher low territory. But there is a more interesting story that the RSI is currently telling us. Let's come back to the price action here and I'll point that out. So if we look at the structure of price right here, and then we look at this pivot that Bitcoin has recently put on the market here, we can see the RSI signature way up here for this price structure. And now we can see that the RSI got lower for this pivot right here. So some people might be looking at this as potentially hidden bullish divergence. Now, the more conservative traders will probably be looking at this pivot point right here versus this pivot way up here. And of course, hidden bullish divergence wouldn't be present in that particular situation. But it is fair to say that some folks will be looking at this structure here versus this most recent pivot and saying, hey, you know what? Maybe there's a little bit of hidden bullish divergence on the board here. So it's going to be interesting paying attention to the price of Bitcoin as we come into the weekend and as the new trading week next week opens up. At that point in time, maybe we see this confirm as a little bit of hidden bullish divergence. And of course, if that's the case, then we're very likely going to see Bitcoin coming back up to near the all-time high. And if it does that, it's likely going to bust through there and go right back into price discovery. So a little bit of an interesting setup to pay attention to. And popping over here to the Bitcoin dominance chart, and this is certainly another chart that I like to pay attention to, as it can be quite helpful in forecasting when a really big alt season could be on the way. And we did talk about this chart just a few videos ago, and ever since Bitcoin's put in its bottom in the bear market and has now moved into price discovery since, that the Bitcoin dominance chart has been in a clear and obvious uptrend along the way. There are moments in time, like right here, where you'll see a little bit of a pullback on the dominance, and that's where some of the more major altcoins are catching up to Bitcoin. But despite that, we have seen it in a massive uptrend to the upside. However, there's something interesting starting to take shape here on the chart, and what we can see now is we can see that in this series of higher highs and higher lows along the way, leading up to this high right here, that for the first time in a while, we are seeing potentially a really obvious lower low as opposed to this low back here. Now, we were taking a look at that a few videos back. We had this wick on the chart right here, which was getting below this pivot. And I was saying, you know, some folks might be looking at that as the first shot on the board, that maybe there's a change of behavior in the dominance here. Personally, I like to go off candle bodies, and the candle bodies at the time were up around this area here. But now what we see is several candle body closures down below this recent pivot here. So now we certainly have a lower low on the board. Now, can Bitcoin dominance rally from here, like maybe pick itself back up, move back to the upside? It certainly can. But now what we want to look for is a lower high as opposed to back here, because that will be a potential downtrend beginning to confirm itself. If we see Bitcoin just rip back up, getting back up above this pivot right here, then we can call it a fake out at that point. But we do have a shot on the board right here, getting a lower low for the first time in a while. Now we're on lower high watch. Of course, the dominance could just continue to bleed to the downside as well. But even if we see it scoop its way back up, we'll look for that lower high, and then we might potentially have a lower high, so the makings of a downtrend in dominance, and then we might see the altcoins catch a major bid during that time. I'm already seeing some altcoins begin to run. I've got some really low cap altcoins that have put in some massive moves recently. So there are some signs starting to emerge that the alts are getting ready to make some moves. Now to take a quick look at the interest as well as the sentiment of the market. And what we're looking at here is we're looking at the Google Trends search terms for Bitcoin as well as crypto. And I have this set beyond the genesis of Bitcoin. So this is the all-time interest as far as search terms are concerned for both Bitcoin as well as crypto. We have Bitcoin here in blue, we have crypto down below in orange. And if we look at it this way, we can see that currently retail interest, so the search terms from folks around the world, is still quite low. We have Bitcoin at 18 and crypto at 8. However, it is projecting that this might pop up to a 45 sometime in the near future. But if we bring this into a 12-month period, so right here, the past 12 months, we can see that Bitcoin actually did hit a pretty critical level here, coming in at about 100 and has since cooling off from there. But crypto down below, although getting a small uptick, the search terms for crypto are still very low. And what that tells me is that retail still isn't all that interested in, say, the crypto sector as a whole. And that tells me that there's plenty of room for good altcoins to run when the alt season kicks in. So an interesting chart I'd like to track along the way just to see what the interest is from the retail market. And if we pop over to CoinMarketCap, we can see the CMC Crypto Fear and Greed Index. And at the time of making this video, we can see it's still an 83 out of 100, which is considered extreme greed. Now, because Bitcoin's in price discovery, this can stay that way for quite some time. So we can see right now that anybody that is participating in the markets is still extremely confident on the price action. Now, under some circumstances, the Fear and Greed Index can be used as a contrarian indicator, but not necessarily when we're going through price discovery for Bitcoin or when we hit an alt season. It can stay this way for quite some time, although they may cool down during these little pullback phases. And I do like to see that. I like to see the sentiment kind of reset itself along the way. And popping over here to the price action chart for Ethereum inside TradingView, and we are looking at a daily time frame. And this is a quick follow-up analysis from my last Ethereum video. In the last video, we were observing that Ethereum was finding a little bit of support here off the red 10 simple moving average with this wick. And I was saying that I was looking for a clear and decisive break above this purple zone right here, but more importantly, up above this horizontal here coming in at 3,556. Now, I was of the opinion that I thought that that was going to be the case, but more important than my opinion is we now have confirmation. We got this beautiful celery stick coming in off that red 10 simple moving average, decisively closing a candle body well above both those areas of resistance. Looking down below, we see that came in on pretty darn good volume as well. At the time of making this video, we see a little bit of short-term profit taking, but we see the price of Ethereum now trying to find support off that horizontal. And this is called an SR flip, where the former resistance gets flipped into future support. So what we want to see next is we want to see Ethereum continue to close these candle bodies on a daily time frame above this horizontal. If it manages to do that, that's going to be very bullish and likely going to initiate a move to the upside to test some of the other areas of resistance. Now, if we zoom this out, what we can see is we can see that this plague of lower highs is now becoming undone. So the buyers are now becoming stronger than the sellers. When we saw Ethereum put in this local high back here, back in spring, we just saw a series of lower highs. Every single time the bulls tried to push the price up, we got a lower high, lower high, lower high, which is showing us that sellers were in control. But now we have a break above this last major lower high right here. Like this area here led to a pretty catastrophic waterfall to the downside. But now we see the buyers pushing price action up above this last known area of resistance, and that is now undoing that plague of lower highs. So things are starting to look good. Yes, I'm still of the opinion that Ethereum is going to move to higher price points. I think it's going to do just fine in this upcoming bull season, but I do like to look for confirmations and take things level by level so I can always have a plan in case things don't go like I expected them to. But if Ethereum continues to hold this price level right here, it's likely going to lead to a test of this pivot right here, which I've marked with this purple box. That has a bottom side of 3,884 and a top side coming in at approximately 3,987. So that's likely going to be the next area of resistance that gets tested. But first of all, let's see Ethereum hold up above this horizontal right here, flipping that into support, and things are going to be looking very good for Ethereum. Quick look at the momentum down below. We can see that the RSI still has plenty of room to run. It's in the bullish control zone, and we see the EMA down below, still in the neutral zone, but with a nice positive slope to the upside. Popping out of the stochastic, we can see the stochastic still in the bullish control zone, and it's still pointed to the upside, showing us that bullish momentum is still present inside this chart. So just a quick follow-up, things are looking good. We have a condition met, so the next thing we're looking for is we're looking for this horizontal to hold as support. If that breaks for whatever reason in the short term or over the weekend, whatever, then let's look at this purple box down below with the top side coming in at 3,450 approximately, and a bottom side coming in at 3,397 approximately. And just for fun, we'll go ahead and finish the video off with this because it appears that we've upset our inverse indicator in the crypto space. Take it away, Kramer.
I got a bunch of yahoos saying I called the top in crypto by recommending it. First, I need to say that I typically do not read the comments on Twitter or X, whatever it is. I have pretty thick skin, and even if I can only take so much abuse, I can't. There are just too many people who want to rake me over the coals for something I did wrong 10, 15, 20 years ago, or who think it's funny to spoof me like this crypto comment. Ha, ha, ha.
Okay, you crypto yahoos, that's what I got for you in this video today. Thanks so much for coming by and checking it out. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Are you bullish on Ethereum? Do you think we got a nice alt season on the way? What are your thoughts? Share them down below. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. And until I do, have yourself a powerful day.